Congrats on the new job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, very exciting for you. Settling in?
I am. Yes. It's been an adjustment, but
Of course.
I'm really enjoying the new gig,
Mm.
and getting back into the thick of the BAU of corporate life, I suppose.
Sure. So I'm really curious to know how much you used AI to help you get a job.
Incredibly so. So, for context to our listeners, I went through redundancy in January of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And for the past 6 months, I had been looking for work. And I've really heavily leaned on AI as a bit of a co pilot, right hand man or lady. And
And it.
right hand it, yes. It's so we anthropomorphize AI so much. Anyways, I created some custom GPTs. So
Okay.
that is a tip I can share with the listeners. So what I did is I uploaded a knowledge base of all of my CVs and cover letters, and I named it My Professional Voice. And this GPT was quite helpful in shaping new cover letters and CVs in that same writing style that I had trained it to.
Right.
And then also it was really good as a writing assistant, helping me slide into the DMs of our upcoming guest, as well as my new boss. So I think that it definitely helped give me the new job. Gemini Deep Research was fantastic for researching the world of retail media, which I am a new participant in,
and new expert,
yes, and that market research overview is really interesting, and so that deep research capabilities from ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini were quite useful.
And did you use it for questions too? Then, was it just a research tool?
It was more of a research tool that I used to really gain a good understanding of both the companies that I interviewed at, as well as like the specific categories they played in, or their world, like the subcategory of the industry, if I, was applying for things that were outside of my normal scope. But the last one is my favorite tip for you. So this is utilizing Notebook LM.
Oh, I love Notebook LM.
Yes, the tool from Google. What I did is on the way to my second round interview at my current job, I listened to this little pump up podcast. So what I did is I uploaded my my CV for this role and the job description, and you can generate a podcast within Notebook LM, which is a great feature of the tool. And what it did was it spat back at me what like these two AI voices saying, "Oh wow," and really hits the mark on all of these roles outlined in the job description. Look at her CV for the job history. And it was a really good, inspiring, I'm going to nail it.
And so did you prompt it to give you the pump up thing, or were you tell me why Emily is perfect, or it just did it automatically?
It just did it. And as the two sources, it was just the source of my CV and the job description. And that's what the voices came back with. The AI, it's decided to speak about, the summarizing of both of the sources. And that's what Notebook LM is so good for. Those are my tips and tricks for the job search, if it's helpful for anyone, because I definitely saw a lot of value.
Back when I was searching, the thing that I found really useful is I took LinkedIn profile information, copied, because of course you can't, LinkedIn have locked down their profiles.
The links, don't always transfer well.
Yeah, so I printed it to a PDF and then put the PDF into the AI along with my information, similar to your path, as well as the job description, and then asked it to help me understand the kind of questions that I would be asked. And so interestingly, it said, for example, this interviewer is ex-McKinsey, and McKinsey like things in a three-letter acronym, like choice, care, and chaos, or whatever it might be. So I kind of structured my answers around the way that the advice I got from ChatGPT or Gemini.
Yeah, another aspect of the tools that I use is I've realized going through a lot of different interviews, they're like the star stories or the methodologies of those scenarios. And I find that AI was quite helpful in looking at my, past performance reviews and kind of distilling those stories, because that's often quite, I find it hard to talk about myself in that context. So using Gen AI as that writing co-pilot to help me craft those stories in those scenarios was quite helpful.
Well, look, I know we've got to get to our guest, but before I do, I just wanted to show you something that I've been playing with.
Yes,
This is a surprise to you, but hopefully you'll recognize. Hold on, I'm not sure if you can see it very well. You will recognize that photo.
Me.
That's you, yeah.
That's me. Yes. Oh gosh,
That's
this is gonna be
definitely
fun.
you. So I have been playing with the new Banana Nano from Google. That is you as a steampunk astronaut. But I thought like that was just a little bit too easy because it looked like it just clipped your face there off. So what I did is I asked it to make you like a fierce one with lasers, which I don't think it got the brief particularly well. So I tried a couple other ideas. I said like, this is you in a monarch butterfly dress. My favorite one is this one here. This is a sad superhero.
Oh, I look fierce, but
You
sad.
Yeah. This one is by far the best, I think. It really does look like you. And then I found another tool that somebody made with the API, which shows you throughout time. So if you need inspiration for any upcoming costume parties, let me know.
That one in the bottom left of the screen, like the 70s almost.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was really good. The 50s one, like I thought the behind it is pretty special too. So there you go. That was
that is hilarious. Yeah. Thank you so much. That made my day, Nate. That was
the new Banana Nano. Very clever, very good image editing. And the cool thing is you can just tell it like, yes, I like that aspect, but we want to change something else and do something. So anyway, have a play with Banana Nano in Gemini now.
We've discussed this before at length about how image editing is such a punish. So Banana Nano, I will definitely check that out. But listen, we can chew the fat all day. That's not why we're here. We're here to chat to the wonderful Louise Cummins. So our guest today, Lou, she is an award-winning marketing and digital transformation leader. She ranked in Australia's top 50 CMOs. She's the founder of ACAM, the Australian Centre for AI and Marketing, as well as the founder of AI Ready Consulting, helping organizations adapt with intelligence, ethics, and humanity. She's held senior leadership roles at World Vision, H&R Block, and Align Technology. She's also a published author, a keynote speaker, and a passionate advocate for resilience and reinvention. Wow, what a bio, what a woman. Louise Cummins, welcome to Mind the Model.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I love your format of the show. It's fantastic.
We're so glad that you joined us today. And just to crack us into a bit of an icebreaker, what is your preferred Gen AI model right now and why? You know, looking at ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok.
ChatGPT, OpenAI all the way at the moment. And it's really interesting. I think you become quite addicted to your particular LLM because you've actually trained it. And yes, I do like Gemini and I do play with it, but ChatGPT is my favorite. And it's really become it's moved from being an assistant to a trusted strategic partner because I've spent time making, really training it on everything that I'm doing. So it's been, yes, that's my preferred. I'm not as bad as I saw somebody the other day who has, because they talk to it. I don't know if you guys talk to.
I was just talking to mine earlier today for the first time.
Yes, and responding. So they've named it. On the way home, they talk to it and talk about their day, and it's quite fascinating.
Like a therapist sort of thing, or for like advice.
No. So kind of downloading, this is what happened during the day. These are the things I need to happen at night, but also just starting to have that two-way conversation. So it's not written, it's actually verbal.
Okay.
I think that's for AGI. That's what I think is the path for being able to speak and interact with LLM model and have that. Like, I mean, if I was driving home from work and I started talking to my Gen AI, and it could start to plan out my day for tomorrow.
And I can see everybody having their own companions, and my companion will speak to your companion about, when we're next available for coffee.
What would you call your AI?
What's yours?
I don't know. Is it weird that the first thing that comes to mind is like Sparky?
Sparky.
Almost like a pet, like a robo pet.
Okay. I'm not judging.
I quite like something where there's AI in it, like Daisy or something, like DAI or something. So that
that's clever.
you're never really crossing the line that it's not AI.
I think I'm like an Iron Man Jarvis kind of guy. Like, it's got that old English butler plus a bit of Iron Man in there. Anyway, Lou, you've seen huge shifts in marketing before. Why do you think AI is it the most disruptive one yet?
I was one of the first product managers for Fujifilm digital cameras. So that was also, interesting, big seismic shifts. And even with MGM Studios, with the DVDs coming in, so big sort of changes. And I've been around for the beginning of the internet, beginning of social media, but this dwarfs everything in comparison. For me, I feel like this is on par with the Industrial Revolution.
Pivoting slightly, Lou, I know you're super passionate about AI and marketing, and I from have been a fan, candidly, from afar for quite some time. As I saw you and others have recently founded ACAM, which is the Australian Centre for AI and Marketing. Why did you found it? Why did you and the other members, put your own money behind it?
So the Australian Centre for AI and Marketing does both paid and free education and thought leadership in this space. Um, in addition, we do advocacy. So I've just released a white paper around youth and the implications of AI in youth. And that's going to be the subject for my South by Southwest panel coming up, giving a bit of a plug there. So we've also really lent into gender and gender bias in AI. So there's not enough women learning AI. There's not enough women. There's a bias, obviously, in AI. So we're leaning into an advocacy space as well. And then the other section of it is obviously helping out corporates in their journey to embrace AI.
One of the aspects of ACAM that I'm aware of is the AI Pioneer Circle. And is that about setting a roadmap for them, or what role does that circle play for ACAM, and what kind of insights have come out of it?
So we have current representation from ANZ, Woolworths, IKEA, AGL, Blue Scope, the Iconic. Really, we wanted to get a real broad range of different organisations. And part of what we're doing is we provide education, training, but also they have peer group of where they are learning, they're sharing insights in terms of, nothing confidential, but their insights around where they're at and thinking. And they're also helping us with white papers. So we're going to be announcing next week around Marketing Team of the Future white paper that we've co-authored with the pioneers, and we've also done that with our new partner, Adobe.
Can you give us some of those insights that have come out of that?
We've gone through different archetypes of what is going to be required in this next era and the key traits, but also a number of different roles that we believe will exist in that new era.
And from those CMO conversations, are there particular worries?
I think it's about time. And the reason I say that is there's a whole heap of stuff around governance. How do you take your teams out, in the right way? What does it look like from your MarTech stack? I can list the different areas. But marketing across the board, from my experience, there's not many marketers that go, gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself today. They're all exhausted and they're all sort of working so hard. So we're actually saying to all these teams, hey, now completely rethink about the way you're doing things. How do you find that time in an already very congested role? And I think that's part of the problem is that, one of the reasons I love what we're doing is I can see a way that we can use AI to get back the soul of good marketing and actually why we joined this in the first place. One of my clients is Bree, who heads up marketing for Procore, which is a construction software company.
Okay.
And we were working with her on the next sprint, and she went, wait a second, we need to rethink this. And what she said, I thought next was actually brilliant. She said, rather than us going into this next sprint and just thinking about new things, we're going to be thinking about what we take away.
Right.
So in the next quarter, every single person, they've already got a lot of tools, a lot of AI capabilities, and that she said every single person in their role has to think about how they're going to optimize their week to
Okay.
find 3 hours back every week.
Yeah, I think back to the fact that I've had time out of the professional workforce for 6 months this year. I was able to go down a lot of AI rabbit holes, do a lot of coursework, self teach, the different chat GPT, custom GPTs and all the like. And if I didn't have that time out of my day to day, I don't think I would be at this space that I'm at now. And so I think, Lou, what you're talking about is bang on. Like, really strong leaders should be thinking about how to give time back to their team, because that time is where the good ideas bubble up and the strategy starts to form.
I heard from the CEO of UNICEF the other day. I thought it was fantastic. He said, I want to use AI to stretch my team, not to shrink them. But Em, I think you're a really good example, because we connected while you were having that break, a really good example of somebody that leaned into that education in a really meaningful way. I was listening to you talking about Notebook LM and your custom GBTs. That's the sort of stuff that I think is fantastic. So I just wanted to applaud you for actually taking that approach.
I've loved the work that ACAM has done, and I was so lucky. Thank you for you to invite me to the release of your benchmark report, because that was just so fundamental. You have to kind of understand what the industry is saying and their thoughts and feelings about it. And we noticed, because Nate and I spoke before this podcast about the different metrics that were measured, and one thing that we were quite curious about, and we wanted to hear from you, what percentage of CMOs are actively using AI? And I want to phrase it in a way of actively using it besides just a co-pilot to help write emails, like utilizing it for innovative strategies and how to think differently.
So when you say use it,
Yeah.
like there's very few CMOs that would know how to go into Salesforce and actually proactively use it, or Marketo, or HubSpot, whichever solution that they're
Yeah.
using. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there's
Totally.
kind of this
Totally.
layer of,
That's not what their
are they
job is.
physically, are they on the tools? Is their teams using it? And then how people are using AI is so different. So there's very few teams that I go, they've got a really clear roadmap where it's going to actually support with strategy in terms of how is it going to reinvent the way that they use research and synthetic data, and how are they actually using it for better data science models? How are they using it for better journey mapping? There's not one organization that I've gone in and gone, wow, across all the pinwheel of marketing, they've been very active in all of that space.
It's interesting from my perspective of being new in a role in a new company that's a large organization. From the outside, I was like, wow, AI is moving at such a fast pace. And now inside the company, I'm like, oh, wow, the time it takes to embed generative AI at all different levels, it is a continuing conversation, and there has to be data engineering resource allocated to prompt engineering. Is that problem a Gen AI problem, or is it an ML problem, a machine learning problem? So I just find it so interesting. And I was having the chat to Nate earlier this week about how, from the outsider of the industry, we think like, wow, it's going to disrupt and be so fast, but really we are actually moving quite slow.
Because it's complicated, right?
It's complicated, and we want to be very cognizant of how we're doing it, because as we have all seen in the news recently, with CBA announcing the backflip on the redundancies for the call support staff, Like businesses are going to get it wrong. It's going to be quite public and embarrassing.
I think you're 100% right, Em. It's fascinating how people think that it's all going to happen really fast. And I think there will be elements of that will come fast, like I was saying, the bumpiness of it, because to your point, there's really complex MarTech stacks, and yes, you can add different layers, but most people's MarTech stacks look pretty chaotic anyway. And then you don't want to keep starting up onboarding a whole heap of agents on top of that. Like, interestingly enough, Microsoft has onboarding for their, I was told this the other day, where they actually onboard agents like they do employees, so that they've got a track of where they are and things. Because can you imagine, you'll have employees deploying agents and then leaving, and there'll be these agents, different places.
Headless robots.
Exactly. But I do think that the timing is really interesting. So it's not, some things will be quite quick, but then if you don't have the right MarTech stack or the right sort of, even the data taxonomy, like that's really basic, right? But a lot of people don't have a shared drive that's up to date with good content. A lot of it's just sort of a catch-all of, often not very great stuff.
It's such a great point, Lou, though, that like the data taxonomy, because that came up in a conversation just the other week of if we are going to look at Gen AI, which is based on the natural language, okay, well, in our corporate business speak, we need to write out what that acronym means in plain terms so that if we do deploy a Gen AI model on top of it and underpin it with some with a large language model, then it will call back to that exact definition. But the steps and the intricacies of actually fully enabling generative AI methodology in businesses is much more complex than I previously thought.
Are you kind of privy to any conversations among CMOs or clients and how they're thinking about AI and creativity and any boundaries that they're placing on it at this point?
I feel like there's very much a boundary setting amongst the marketing community at the moment of, we will provide the ideas behind it, and then we'll use AI to support with the production. I think there's an interesting tension point now that all the agencies are sort of playing with, of how much will be human versus AI, and that's going to be a really interesting tension point of how that goes.
So it's kind of, I guess, just really an evolution of efficiency at this point.
I would say that that's the key thing, but you're starting to see more and more marketers starting to play around with the production more, especially. However, what I have seen, which has been really interesting, was one client in the creative sector, and their team was very anti AI. And what was really interesting, we did an exercise and they had a creative idea that then the AI built on, that then the team then had another creative idea that the AI built on. And it was fascinating because it was this escalation of creativity. And I wish I'd recorded it, because it was fascinating to see how, and they recognized that they wouldn't have landed, these are very creative people, they wouldn't have landed at the same spot without AI. So it was a true example of the humans being in the driver's seat, but actually AI being the support to actually build on the creativity. And I thought that was a really interesting example.
Do you see that there are certain roles that are more, or tasks maybe even, that are more at risk within the creative industry?
Production definitely is going to, and some of the sort of more junior accounts, anything that has to do with reporting or timesheets or anything that's very administrative.
Lee, to that point, if you could go back to a point of view, if you're wearing a CMO hat, what do you think the marketing team of the future is going to look like?
At the moment, we've somehow, over the last 15 years, become very specialized in marketing. So there's a lot of very specialist roles. And I feel what will happen with AI is we'll move back to more of those generalist thinkings, because a lot of the specialty will actually be potentially automate it, or we can actually leverage AI for it. So I think the biggest things that I'll be looking for within marketing teams, if I was people that are curious, creative, critical thinkers, wanting to change evangelists,
Mm-hmm.
and still with all of that great thinking that around what makes a good marketer, being client centric, all of those key, that's the fundamentals. But then there's all these character traits around it that I think will actually create the right archetype for the future, and you want those people on your team.
I think you bring up a really good point, though, because I think personally it's too early to say this is what the roles will look like for the new marketing team of the future with AI. My background is in data strategy, so analyzing data and shaping insights. And I want to say that Gen AI does it better than me now, which is terrifying because I was like, oh, there goes my job. But what I've realized is I use that and I leverage it for my benefit to then shape, okay, great. How can I then look at this through the viewpoint of a commercial lens, and what are different aspects of the business that we can commercialize based off of those insights? Whereas previously I wouldn't, pre-AI, Gen AI days, I wouldn't have had that time or that space to really think about leveraging those insights in more of a commercial fashion.
And the basics, the soul of good marketing, what makes a good marketer, and rather than having SEO experts, like SEO experts didn't start their degree wanting to be SEO experts. We've just somehow sort of funneled people into these very specialized areas. And I think we'll go back to how it was when I started, which was more generalist, and which creates a better pipeline for leadership anyway.
Well, speaking of that, I am very interested in like the long-term impact and the future hiring of junior staff and what that means. Are you seeing have you done any benchmarking around the number of junior hires being made across the industry and whether that's changed over time?
We haven't done that benchmarking, but we are hearing internationally that's being affected. I am terrified of it.
Yeah.
Mostly because we're not going to get the pipeline of future leaders for tomorrow. So, because let's face it, if you take positions away, you're going to be left with insecure overachievers, and they're not really poster children for mental health, right? Good mental health. So you're going to end up with a whole tsunami of people being really stressed out, and that really concerns me. So we're not going to have the right pipeline, but we're also going to have let go of talent, and the people that are talented that will still be there will be, I think, potentially burnt out. So I really advocate on how do we actually use this for good rather than actually going, okay, we're just going to use it to
Race to the bottom
find
line.
team efficiencies.
Yeah. Do you feel like we're heading to everybody having a 3-day work week, or a world where we're just expected to do more and more and more because AI can empower us to do more and more and more?
I think we have to be really intentional. And at the moment, I don't feel like people are being intentional because it's so new and they're running. And you know how I said, like, how do you take a breath? I feel like you have to go as an organization, where is my true north? And what do we want to stand for? And then actually go, okay, I think we're going to see a rise of transparency for consumers like we did with the environment.
Okay.
Is there an AI trust mark? Are they using AI to be energy efficient and supporting the community? And I think that will come. At the moment, we're not there, but yes, the answer is unless we're intentional. It's like recycling. You have to be intentional.
You have to do
Otherwise,
it.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no,
otherwise we're
totally.
just going to all be a free for all and do it what's right for us.
And do you think that intentionality happens at a business by business, or is it a government thing, or where does it sit?
We had a youth think tank recently, and it was a really interesting conversation. where we landed is, well, what is everybody's individual role in this? So rather than abdicating to say, I think that the government should be part of it, is, and I say this to the people we're training and marketers, is you need to be your own ethicist too. You know, you need to be, if things aren't right, you need to speak up. So I would say it first of all needs to come from the individual. And then I think we're going to see businesses being more intentional, and then the government will catch up because of the pace of change. But if we try and do it the reverse and wait for the government, it's too big a juggernaut to actually catch up at this point.
See, I want to challenge you on that, Lou,
Mm,
because I agree. I think we each should have an individual role in really advocating for like responsible use and whatnot. But I think, especially in Australia, and I'm coming at this, both Nate and I are originally from the States, but in Australia, there's such a rich history of regulation, for better or for worse. And that's just what the country, I think, is really known for at this point.
Country of regulation.
amongst other things. Yes, it is up to us as individuals to really stand up for what we believe in, but the collective group that would speak the loudest would actually come back to, the industry bodies or the government. Yeah, I think we shouldn't necessarily give them too much of an excuse to not do their job well.
that is such a wise provocation. And because I think it was more to, in my mind, the phasing of it. But yes, we've got guidelines around social media. So there's this whole tension point of how do we actually get Australia to move faster whilst putting in the right guardrails across every single sector
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
doing
it's a
stuff that's really
mammoth task. I
pointy.
don't envy it.
Yes, I think it's easy to kind of go, they're responsible. I think they are, but it's a lot
Beast.
to cover.
Just wrapping up, we've got a couple of maybe more quick fire kind of final questions just to round things off. I'd love to know if you have an approach or a methodology that you use for prompting.
Oh, this is embarrassing. Do you want to hear my prompting? Because
I love
sometimes
it.
I get a bit
Yes.
tired. So if I'm tired, I actually ask ChatGPT to I want to give you the perfect brief for this.
Mm-hmm.
Ask me one question at a time to create the perfect prompt for you.
Okay.
That's my tips, because sometimes,
Love
although
that.
I know how to prompt like a pro and all the rest of it, sometimes when I'm just busy, I'm just like, take me through step by step on how to actually make the best prompt for you to
Okay.
actually help me with this.
I think that's
To
an
be honest,
amazing
that's
tip.
genius.
Yeah.
And
is it? Okay.
because I found, from my
Mhm.
perspective, it's harder to start than when you're in the midst of it. So, like, it can seem quite confronting. Oh, I need to craft the perfect prompt to get the most, amazing response.
Mm.
When really, you have to get started.
Sometimes I'll actually say, like if it was a leadership thing, write me, provide me a brief, but actually assume that I'm Barack Obama or something. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I actually do it in a view of how would a world leader or a entrepreneur or I don't know, somebody
Okay. So
does
you
that.
use
That's
that
my
kind of
whole tip.
persona thing.
Yes.
One I have for you, Lou. What is a recent AI fail that comes to mind where, you tried to get something out of Gen AI and it just absolutely did not work for you? What did you learn?
You know what? I'm going to tell it. It's so embarrassing. So I went to a Sydney Uni alumni event, okay? And it was really good. And so what I do is I generally take notes in my notes folder.
Mm-hmm.
And if I feel like it's relevant, because been told let's post a couple of times a week with LinkedIn. So I was like, okay, I'm taking notes. Now, context. I've been a lot of panels recently. So my chat GPT is used to writing posts about being on a panel. Anyway, I did this post and I put it in and it all looked really good. And put in some photos, tagged the people and all the rest of it. There was one word that when I woke up the next day, I was like mortified. So what I wanted to say was thank you to the panelists. I learned so much.
Ah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
What I said by accident was, thank you to my fellow panelists. And I was like, no, it looked like I was crazy that I was actually on the panel, but I wasn't. And it was just that one little word. And I was like, wow, it was such a good illustration of how you need to be double check. And I double check stuff, but it was a really interesting insight that just one word could be such a fail.
Em and I on our group chat, and that we were talking about the Deloitte screw up where they have just done all this research and charged the government of Australia $400,000, and half of it seems to be made up by ChatGPT or something.
Ooh.
And there will be a role for junior analysts going forward, and it will be checking all of the output of the ChatGPT.
Well, I've also heard one which they put in, I'm not going to actually name the particular solution because I don't, but they put in an LLM, and this is now I've heard it in 2 different organizations, and they gave it full access to all the different systems. Think about different systems. So how much does the CEO make? And of course it came up. So, yeah, I think there is going to be some fails along the way.
Last question, and it kind of comes back to something we were speaking about previously. Do you see yourself as an AI optimist, pessimist, or realist?
Wow. I think that I am naturally a very positive, optimistic person, and that's why I've gone into this with the passion to make sure that my negativity fuels the right guardrails that we need to put in to lead us to a point of positive, like continue to be positive about our future.
So optimist.
Excellent. Love
Great.
that.
Love
but with an asterisk.
Yeah.
A considered optimist.
Optimist.
Excellent.
It's fantastic having you on the pod. Thank you so much, Lou.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
We so appreciate your time.
Really appreciate it.
I thought it was fantastic. Louise is such a wealth of knowledge, and I really appreciated her stance on making sure that AI could help amplify back to that soul of marketing. That really, really resonated. That was my key takeaway of like, what can we get back to the true North Star of what we aim for in marketing. So
yeah, and I thought in particular, just I really valued the fact that she's been able to spend so much time recently with CMOs talking about AI. And while there is no like real consensus as to where AI is going yet, having those touch points with those senior leaders who are trying and really engaged, I think is just such an important thing for all of us to keep in mind. You know, we've got to continue to really get involved.
For sure. We're all on the journey.
As always, remember, please, that the intelligence might be artificial, but all the wins are real. This has been Mind the Model. Thank you very much, and have a beautiful afternoon. This episode was brought to you by TestChimp. TestChimp is a web developer's best friend. Meet the QA co-pilot that knows your code better than you do. TestChimp uses deep runtime context to automate your testing workflows, generate scenarios, write scripts, and fix bugs all in one place. Stop wasting time and start shipping quality code faster. Bugs suck, but finding bugs doesn't have to with TestChimp.